Call of the Wild, we ripped on the trailer. Now we take a look at the movie.
Hold on to your butts.
Welcome back to AsArt with Nick and John. We post 3 videos a week. Hit that subscribe button to stay updated and turn on the bell to get notified when our new posts come out. And visit asart.space for all of our audio podcast links. John, Call of the Wild. This film is directed by Chris Sanders. So he directed Lilo and Stitch, How to Train Your Dragon, The Croods with Jack with not Jack Nicholson.
Nicolas Cage. Jack Black, Nicolas Cage.
I'm just like mixing up all my actors. You know, DreamWorks. It's some celebrity at DreamWorks. That's how it is. And he also has a lot of writing credits on like Milan and a lot of other animated films. So they brought him into this. Maybe that's why he felt so comfortable doing like
with the
a
animated
full
dog. Yeah.
CG dog, so you can really control emotions. Like think about it. How to Train Your Dragon is basically a dragon that acts like a
dog
cat
movie,
and a dog. You know what I mean? That's all it is. And even Lilo and Stitch, it's like having a little pet animal. This is like, it's like right up his alley.
I didn't know about his background and the director and things like that. And so for me, I thought, okay, this is kind of a weird choice to have basically an animated dog. And turns out a lot of dogs throughout the film and other animals as well.
Everything
and Nick
is
and
3D.
Yeah, and if you guys haven't seen our trailer breakdown, it was slightly harsh, you know, but it was really hard to see why they would make those decisions for basically every single shot. Yeah. And one thing I have to say before we even get into this is in our trailer breakdown, we show a still where Harrison Ford's by a campfire and he's talking to a guy laying on the ground in a gimp suit acting like a dog. So every time he's like hugging the dog or petting the dog, I'm like, is he petting the guy in the gimp suit? I cannot stop thinking through that. And the entire film is like, is that a guy in a gimp suit that he's just like, God, come here, Buck. And it's just Buck is the name of the gimp suit guy. So
okay, so did our VFX breakdown mess this up for you, John? The viewing experience for you? You
know what? It didn't ruin it all because my overall thoughts are generally the same. So some people were like, boy, you're kind of harsh on it. And we said it in that video. It's like, you know, when final films come out, a lot of times the visual effects are vastly better than they are in the trailer. And they definitely were better in the final film. And honestly, the uncanny valley hits you really hard at the beginning of the film, but over time you kind of get used to it being a CG dog, at least. Did you as well? Like, we haven't talked about this, so this is, kind of live.
Also, though, to its credit, in the story, he's kind of in the human world, and he slowly becomes to the animal world. So maybe it's also part of that transition of there's more emotion and character, and then later on, because he becomes more of a wild dog, we see more wild attributes than him running around the house, being like eating a turkey leg, and then they look over and everything's eaten from the table and all this stuff. So,
I mean, obviously there's an uncanny valley, and to be honest, like the Timberwolf, like the female or whatever, that looked a lot more realistic to me because I don't see wolves on the regular. Thankfully, I'm in Colorado now, don't see Timberwolves on the regular, thankfully. But so maybe because I'm used to seeing, like, it was like a Saint Bernard or something. Like, it was a big, thick dog, which is hilarious because my buddy has a Saint Bernard that is named Buck. And is in this movie, it's a Saint Bernard basically named Buck. I'm just like, wow,
I wonder if he named it after the book.
No, because my buddy's name is Buck, so he named the dog after himself. Buck and Buck, and they are both like giant. Yeah, so it was hilarious. But
$2.
So $2. How much? $2.
One thing I want to say though, like, I love dogs, right? I'm like a total dog person. I had a hard time, even though it was a 3D dog, when they're mean to the dog. I hate seeing people beat dogs, dude. Like, I really do. Like, even the whole thing, like with the stick and all that.
He clubbed him hard. I'm like, man, hey, you really whipped that. It didn't show it on screen really, but still, just the inferring it, yeah.
Yeah, and even like the whole like when that one like gold miner guy or whatever, that younger dude, when he was like forcing the dogs, I was just like, dude, I hate this. Like, I hate it so much. By the way, I hated that villain. By the way. I was so stupid and pointless for him to come back later and the whole thing. I don't know. I don't know. But I guess you needed an ending.
Well, that's one thing that is a little bit rough about sometimes movies like this is they feel like they have to have I mean, really, it could have just been the journey of them going out and I guess the book. Do you know anything about the book? Was there anything like this in the book?
I've never read the book. I'm guessing it's the villain from the book, though. I'm guessing it's like
So in that regard, I guess they couldn't just take it out. Otherwise, it'd be a huge outcry. It'd be Tom Bombadil from Lord of the Rings isn't in the books, except it's Darth Vader. They just took out Darth Vader from Star Wars.
Yeah, or maybe it was like the perfect close to have Harrison Ford die, so there was nothing tying Buck to the human world or something like that.
Yeah. And to its credit as well, and especially after we know the background for the director, the dog is a human actor basically in the film. I mean, it's smart way beyond what a dog would be.
With the green screen.
But I mean, it's smart way beyond what a dog would be. Does things that a dog would never be able to think of logic-wise. But it's one, this is like the Scoob. We did 2 dog movies in a row. We did the Scoob movie, and then we did this movie. I thought I was going to like the Scoob movie because I'm a Scooby-Doo fan. I like Call of the Wild more than I did Scoob, I think.
Way more.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Scooby-Doo was probably like the worst film I've watched in a long time. And the Call of the Wild, like, it was not bad because you think about it, it's like a kid's film. It's not even meant for an adult, right? Like, it's a kid movie. It's like Homeward Bound. Did you ever watch that?
Yes.
I loved Homeward Bound.
That's probably a horrible... Yeah, it was that Michael J. Fox and another girl does the voices, right?
Yeah, right? Yeah, because he's like, I'm Bat Dog when he's like, his ears are up.
And if you watch that now, it'd probably be absolutely horrible, but as a kid, it was fun. And again, Scoob as well, the Scooby-Doo movie, we're not the target audience by any means. Yeah. And so for this movie, it was probably extremely entertaining for the younger audience.
Oh my gosh, I just remembered. In Homeward Bound, I don't think the animals even talk. I think they're just like panting.
Yeah, they just stand there. Yeah,
you hear their voices.
Yeah. They didn't even try. Because this was the first movie, I think, where you had a talking animal quite a bit was Babe. That was the first Academy Award that Rhythm and Hughes won was for doing the movie Babe. And I think you had maybe random shots here and there and other maybe commercials or films. But that was the first big movie.
One? Cats versus Dogs. That was the other big one.
That's right. Yeah. But they just, it was just talking, right?
Yeah.
It's like in the movie Willow when they want the goat to talk, it's just chewing hay. And it's just,
I guess one of the tricks for like horses and stuff like that is they put peanut butter in their back jaw.
Peanut butter, huh? Is that how you said peanut butter?
Yeah, peanut butter. So like
they put peanut butter.
One of the tricks for animals is they put peanut butter in their back jaw. So the animal just kind of, if it's a horse or a dog or whatever it is, yeah.
So that's Mr. Ed's talking right there, huh? It's peanut butter in the back of the...
And if you're singing along with the song and you don't know what you're singing, you're supposed to say, peanut butter, watermelon, peanut butter, watermelon. And it'll look like you're singing to any song.
I did not know this.
You didn't know that? So like,
I didn't know it.
So like if you sing a song, as long as you're kind of like singing kind of to the beat going like, it like goes over all the different like anyways.
So Nick, would you say
back to the review?
Yes. So would you say that after having seen the film, you liked it more than you thought you would based on the trailer, or was it kind of what you were expecting?
It's kind of what I was expecting.
Okay.
I wasn't
I think I probably as well.
I mean, there were some parts that I liked because we didn't see it in the trailer. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I really like the opening, like him like at the household and stuff, because I wasn't expecting that. I thought he was just gonna be like one of the sled dogs.
I honestly thought that it was going to start out with Harrison Ford and the dog was going to enter the movie later on. I thought it was going to be the other way around, and it was completely the other way around. It was Harrison Ford's introduced quite a bit later on, and they crossed paths. It almost reminded me of, this is an odd comparison, but the movie Ben-Hur. I don't know if you've ever seen that with Charlton Heston.
Yes.
Like he runs into Jesus a couple times in the film, like sporadically. It's like, oh, Buck, I remember you. You helped me out last time.
Yeah.
It's just kind of funny. It's just random.
That's such a good connection right there. Good job.
Oh, really? Is it? I thought that was pretty bad, but okay, we'll go with that. But you know what? You have to say, so is there an uncanny valley with a dog? For sure. But that being said, is this Nick just briefly said before we start rolling, like, how many minutes of full CG animals did you have in this movie? I mean, a lot. I mean, if we were doing Dumb and Dumber, like a lot. Like there was a lot.
There was in the Fellowship of the Ring, I think there was like 500 VFX shots, right? I think like that
For
was
the first movie,
yeah,
maybe.
the first one,
I don't know.
The first one, and then it went up to like 1,000, and I think Return of the King was like 3,000 plus. Like you know what I mean? It was just like
A lot,
maybe
yeah.
yeah, it was like crazy amount, right? Like how much it went up with the different films. Think about it. Every shot in this film is a VFX shot. Every single shot.
Any shot that has an animal, even when he was when he was first captured by the guys and being sold off, were the animals in the kennels still CG
I
at
think
that point?
every
They were really
was
quick
in this film.
Yeah, they were really. I mean, usually you could tell, but there was only like 1 or 2 shots of the kennels. But I mean, we have a CG bear, we have like all kinds of stuff, and some of them look better than others. I think the Saint Bernard, because of the type of hair consistent in the different patterns, I think it was way harder than a solid color like that Timberwolf. Which is cool because they did it. And we have wet hair, we have dry hair, like we have matted, and you can see all the simulations of the hair with the wind and everything. It is a hard thing to do. And I couldn't tell you, when we say Uncanny Valley, it's like you couldn't tell why the shots felt weird. They just feel weird. And I think anybody watching it would know that, even if they didn't know going in that
I think it was like too much expression. Like I think
that's a big thing. Yes.
I think How to Train Your Dragon, I think it worked because it wasn't a dog and it had characteristics of a dog, right? So it could connect us to it. But since it's a dog and so many of us see dogs almost every day of our lives, it's so hard to, it's just like the human face. When you try to like replicate the human face in 3D, it's tough to make it look realistic. You know what I mean? Because we see it so often.
And they've done some amazing jobs in recent movies, and even in the last like 10 years, going back to Tron Legacy and things like that. They've done amazing jobs, but I remember a friend at the time that I was watching Tron Legacy with. She goes, she didn't know the younger version of him was CG. She goes, "That's not real, is it?" I go no, but she could tell. But that being said, that looks good, and even the most recent, like I think Rogue One or Blade Runner 2049 or Terminator Dark Fate is probably the best of the examples. And still you can kind of tell that it's still not, I couldn't tell you why it doesn't quite work, but it's still, you can kind of tell. But maybe it's part of it is because we know those actors and actresses aren't those ages anymore.
But I have a great final question for you, John. Would this have done better as an animated film?
There was so many shots that I felt like there wasn't a huge purpose for it to be live action, because a lot of shots when all the dogs are running over terrain, it's like, okay, well, they just render that whole shot because there's no reason to shoot it live. At some point I'm like, am I going to get Harrison Ford rendered at some point, just because and that's something I want to ask you about in a second. But you know what, it could have been an animated film. I think have done very well. Still could have gotten someone like Harrison Ford to done the voice work. I'm not sure how he is as like a motion capture artist. You probably would have wanted to get someone to do that, but yeah, it could have totally been. Do you think it would have been better as an animated film? It could have been. I don't know if it would have been better as one, but
I think it would have been cool to see it in like a Rango type of style. Did you ever see Rango?
I loved Rango.
Like something where it's like super stylized, but it has a realistic feel to it. Those animals just felt so gritty and stuff. And I feel like this could have benefited maybe from a little bit more grit because of like everything the dog went through. And it's supposed to be Call of the Wild. And because like you can make everything look all pristine and perfect, like it was like for Rango when he's in his little world, and then when the dog gets captured,
up a little bit more,
he gets into the real gritty world, and he sees like even animals, like other dogs that aren't owned, like look like they just look like worn and like life, and you know what I mean, like it's just like, and I just feel like that it could have benefited maybe with something different like that.
Yeah,
I'm a huge fan of animation, so I'll probably always pick animation over live action.
Well, you know what? Rango is a really good example. If you guys haven't seen Rango, it's a great movie. Some people saw it and they didn't like it because it's not as fantastical as, say, like Pixar movies.
It's one of my favorite.
Rango is the only animated film that I can think of to date that Industrial Light and Magic, who's the longest running visual effects company, did all the Star Wars, Jurassic Park. They did the entire film. Like so they used very realistic camera moves, very realistic camera mechanics, and so it feels like it's staged and the camera moves are real things you would get. And they did a lot of that in Call of the Wild as well. It wasn't like crazy 360, but Rango is a perfect example on how if they wanted to do it as an animated film, the style that they wanted, they would. Yeah, that's a good example of that. I think it would have maybe been more fun like that. That being said, the human characters would have been the challenge then at that point, and we're even better at getting the uncanny valley for humans. But if you're doing stylized anyway, it wouldn't matter. So if they're going to do it animated, they would want to do it a little bit more style. Not looking for like Lion King Disney ultra realistic, which I never saw, by the way. Probably won't see it, but did you totally get the Lion King Simba thing at the end when he was coming up and his little cub was coming up or whatever, like the dog at the end?
Totally. Maybe they can get a raccoon to hold him up because he has fingers too.
Yeah, I was totally like,
the wild.
So one other thing I wanted to ask you about that I thought would be interesting to talk is, so Harrison Ford wasn't really anything for a long time. Then he comes back for Star Wars, and now he's back in this. What did you think about his performance in the film?
I think he's coming back for Indy.
Okay, let's skip that one for now. But what do you think about him in what did you think about him in Call the Wild?
I liked him. I think he played that like don't talk to me kind of character. Like the character he plays a lot.
Here's Buck, give me back my drink. I want my drink back, Buck. But he has. But you know what? I think it's probably better acting than he did in Star Wars.
Yeah.
And he had to do it with nothing a lot of the time, except maybe a guy in a gimp suit. And the only time I felt like he was really just dialing in is when he had to read dialogue, like the voiceover stuff, like the narration. I felt like that didn't sound good at all. But when he was actually on screen, you're like, oh, this actually works pretty well.
He was good.
Yeah. So I thought it was pretty fun to have Harrison Ford in films again.
Yeah.
We didn't have him for a while. So if you had to give it on a scale of 10, Nick, what would you rate this?
Of 10? Gosh. Oh my gosh. There's so many stars. I don't know. A 6.
All right. I'd say like a 5.5 or 6,
I guess,
maybe.
well, it's a kid's movie. Yeah, it's a 6.5.
Oh, if we're doing a kids movie, it's higher for sure.
6.57 for a a kids film. Like it's totally, and it's like family friendly-ish. I mean, unless you like seeing dogs get, but overall. All right, you guys, so hopefully you enjoyed the full review for Call of the Wild. Check out our trailer review that we did earlier. Kind of fun. We rip on it a little bit, but it's kind of fun seeing how our thoughts compare to the final product. Check out AsArt.space for the audio and video links. Let us know if you've seen the film or you're interested in seeing the film, what your thoughts are on it. Especially if you saw it, let us know what you thought about the visual effect shots. And we'll see you on the next AsArt. Ta-ta.